Straight all day.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, yes, there's more. You're going to get a huge dose of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves me, you, him, her, them, and they to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one show, one master class. It is known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is do not give attention where you are not getting it. Where people are not paying attention to you, or you're not getting the energy returned to you that you feel like you've been putting in, what you need to do, you must be mentally tough and disciplined enough to realize that that's the situation, and you got to go give your attention somewhere else. You got to go share your resources somewhere where you're going to get a return on your resource investment. When I told the story before, a few episodes back, of how I started my business, the reason I started doing the things that became my business, I wasn't even calling it starting a business at the time. The reason I started doing those things is because I've been unsuccessful trying to get my next professional basketball job. And I've been putting a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy into getting my next pro basketball job, and it just wasn't happening. I wasn't getting any return on my investment. But I realized when I asked myself the really good question, the most insightful question I ever asked myself, which was, how can I continue to do the thing that I'm doing that I love to do, which is being involved in basketball and also being on the internet? Those are the things I was most interested in. How can I take those things and position myself to actually make money from it to where I actually have some power, some control, some leverage over my own life? That was one of the best questions I ever asked myself. When I asked myself that question, the answer was, well, look, I have a small but enthusiastic online audience at the time. How about I engage more with that audience and see what happens? How about I give more to that audience? Because that audience is giving me energy, even though I wasn't even giving that much energy to them. But it was obvious that there was an opportunity there if I would just pay attention to it. So I started paying more attention to that audience, and the rest became history. I mean, most of the people who know me, 99% of the people who know of me through something that was published on the internet. Not from knowing me in person, and not from seeing me play basketball overseas. I never played any game that was on TV when I was playing overseas. Most of you don't watch overseas basketball, just follow it closely enough that you would have known who I was. Most of the people who are listening to this right now or watching this right now, you found me somewhere online, whether it's through a video I posted, something that I wrote, or a podcast that I put out, something that got published to the internet. So the internet was where the energy was being returned, and I wasn't getting returned, at least at that time, in the basketball world. And that is a microcosm of the exact points that I'm going to be making here today, which is when you're not getting energy from one particular place, you need to put your energy somewhere else and stop wasting it somewhere where you're not getting an ROI. Now, you may be able to come back around with maybe different energy, a different posture, a different presentation, a different offer, and you will get that energy from that other side. So it doesn't mean you have to quit on giving your energy to that thing, because I continue to put effort into playing professional basketball, and I was able to make it happen again. But at the same time, I had to walk away from that for at least temporarily so I could go get my energy somewhere where I was getting it back, and it helped change a whole lot of things for me. I ended up going, when I came back to basketball, it's not like I took a hiatus and stopped playing, but just understanding the point, what I'm saying here in the story, is that when I went and gave my energy to the area, this internet following that I was starting to build, and I started to get that energy back, and some things started happening for me on the business side of things. Even though it was basketball related, it was the business side of things, and I had ownership of it, and I had control, and I had leverage. These were the things that I was looking for. I had some power, personal power to do what I wanted to do. When I came back to looking at the basketball thing, I had a different posture. I had a different energy. I had a different approach. Why? Because I didn't need it as much as I had needed it before. And we all understand, and maybe you don't, but I'll tell you here again, neediness pushes things away from you. When you're very needy of something, when you really need it, you're desperate for something, you're actually repelling it away from you because you're chasing it. What you chase runs away from you. And when you have the energy of already having something, it is attracted to you. That's how the law of attraction works, is believing that you already have something before you have it, and then taking actions as if you are already in that position. Acting as if. Some people call this fake it till you make it. I call it believing it till you actually become it. And it's not faking it, because there's no faking whatsoever involved in it. By not needing that thing, which was me trying to get my next gig in basketball, I was paradoxically making it easier for me to get it because I no longer needed it, even though I was still making myself available. All right, so it's not like I said I don't need basketball and I stopped working out and I got out of shape and I gained 50 pounds. No, I was still doing the same things when I had been needy of that gig, but I didn't have the same mindset, I didn't have the same posture, I didn't have the same energy. Therefore, everything around me changed because my mindset, posture, and energy had changed. So now let's get into the points of today's topic, which once again is do not give attention where you are not getting it. Now, again, you can still get that thing that you're not getting attention from. You can still get it later, but you just got to approach with a different type of energy. Again, if you're being very needy of something, you're pushing it away, even though you may think your pursuit is making it more interested in you, is actually not. And we're going to get into how that works energy wise and in the more tangible side of things today. Point number one, topic once again, do not give attention where you're not getting it. The saying is, go where you are adored, not where you are ignored. Go where you are adored, not where you're ignored. This is a simple enough idea, but it's hard for many people to implement. Usually, the reason why is, usually the person who needs to hear this, they've been trying too hard to get in somewhere, trying too hard to be accepted by someone or in some place. And the thing is, when you're angling for acceptance in any area of life, people can sense when you're needy of their approval. And you pay for that approval with some amount of respect. You follow what I just said there? See, when you really need another person's approval, people can sense that you need their approval. They can sense that you're needy. They can sense that you're desperate for their approval. And when people feel like you're desperate for their approval, they're going to lose a certain amount of respect for you. Not because they're nasty people, not because they're malicious or they want to not respect you or they just want to find a reason to disrespect you. No, they lose a certain level of respect for you because you're a little bit too needy of their approval. You need them. You need them to think positively of you for yourself. And it's hard to respect a person, but so far, who has that type of energy. Now, a person who doesn't need you, they're happy to be around you and happy to have you in the circle, but they don't need you. We respect those people a whole lot more than the people who need us to like them or need us to approve of them, simply because, again, what we chase runs away from us. When you're chasing the approval of other people withhold their approval. And when you don't need other people's approval, what do you know? You get it, simply because you're not chasing after it. That's the way that it works in life, ladies and gentlemen. People can sense when you need their acceptance and they respect you a little bit less. Again, not because they're trying to find a reason to disrespect you, but because this is just the way humans are wired. We're all wired like this. If somebody really needs your approval, you respect them a little bit less simply because you know how needy they are. Paradoxically, when you don't need another person's acceptance, people can sense that as well. And the paradox is they readily accept you because of the fact that you don't need them. We respect and are more drawn towards people who don't need us, people who need us less than the people who need us more. As a general rule. Now, if you're a mother or a father and you got a 6-month-old baby, all right, they need you. All right, you don't respect your baby less because they need you. But you understand what I'm saying, generally speaking, in day-to-day life, dealing with adults, people who have autonomy and they're able to do what they want to do. But they need your approval so much. Eventually, you want to get away from that person because they're a little bit too needy. But the person who's happy to be around you, but they don't need you around them, all right, that's the person you really like. You really enjoy their company because you know that they don't need you and you know that they know that you don't need them. So therefore, you both enjoy each other's company all the more because you both have 100% choice to be anywhere you want to be, deal with whoever you want to deal with, but you have chosen to deal with each other. That's the way that it works in life. That's the way energies work. When you go where you are adored, meaning where people are happy for you to be around, things happen for you a whole lot easier. All right, isn't that true? As opposed to you go somewhere, you got to bang on the door and hope that they answer it, and then they won't even answer the door. They say, "Who is it?" through the door, and they're looking at you through the peephole, and they might let you in, they might not. It's hard to get into that room. But what if you go somewhere where you don't even have to knock on the door? They see that you're coming, or you text them 10 minutes ahead that you're on the way. They leave the door unlocked and say it's already open. Just walk in. All right, where do you think things will happen for you more easily? In the place where the door is already open, or the place where you got to bang and kick down the door just to get a chance? When you go where you're adored, things happen more easily. There's a lot less resistance. There's a lot less struggle and a lot less grind. It doesn't mean there is not work required, but the results come a whole lot more easily. I talked about in episode number 364 why you need the struggle. There are times in life where you will struggle. Things are not always going to come easy. If you have big goals and you're an ambitious person, there will be periods of struggle, periods of pain, periods of questioning yourself, periods of, I don't know if this is going to work or not. I talked about this again in Masterclass 1248, a message for the struggling entrepreneur. There will be times in life where things are not going to be going the way that you want them to be going. So I'm not telling you that struggle is not going to happen, but what I'm telling you is you can make it easier on yourself if you start looking for some paths of less resistance instead of trying to force your way into a path of high resistance. There are going to be times where you're trying to force your way into something that is just not working, and it might not be because you need to keep working, or you need to work harder, or you need to put more time in, or you just need to be more tough, or you need to, I don't know, whatever motivational saying you want to give to yourself that's going to get you going and make you work harder at that thing. Sometimes that's not the answer. Sometimes the answer is you just need to go somewhere else. Sometimes you're just banging on the wrong door. All right. Sometimes you're in the wrong place. And I know that this piece of information may be disturbing to some people, because a lot of people will come to me and they'll say something like they want the black and white thing. Like, all right, if this is happening, what does that mean? Does it mean should I do this or should I do that? That's not the way that life works. Life does not work in this black and white thing so often. All right. Sometimes there are different shades of gray, like 50 Shades of Gray. All right. Not exactly the topic of that book, but there are shades of gray in life in which you have to make a decision. You got to look at the situation. You got to weigh everything that's going on in that situation, and you have to make an educated guess. You got to make a decision on what's going on. And if you realize that you made the wrong decision, then you make a change. Then you make adjustments. Then you do something else. Then you do something else. Then you do something else. But don't just sit there and say, all right, well, I'm just going to do it this way because this is what I heard some motivator say, or this is what some famous person did, or this is what somebody I look up to did, or this is what somebody that I know did. Your path may not be the same as their path. All right. At times in life, yes, you need to struggle. You need to stay in the same place. You need to fight through the tough days. But there are also times in life where you keep having tough days and struggle, and you're still in a mediocre spot despite all your work because you are doing the wrong thing. When I was struggling to be mediocre as a baseball player before I started playing basketball, I could have told myself all these motivational messages and kept trying hard at baseball. Wouldn't have went too far because I just didn't have the talent. That, by the same token, I had a lot of struggling and hard days in basketball. And I stayed at basketball because luckily I was able to see that I had the insight to see that there was some potential for me in basketball if I stuck with it. There was not a lot of potential for me in baseball. That's why I didn't stick with it. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I could have been a great baseball player had I kept playing baseball, but I don't think so. One of the most important points that you need to understand about life in general, aside from hard work, because a lot of people think hard work is the key to success. I don't think so. I disagree. One of the most important keys to success in life is making the right choices. Making the right choice as to, listen, hard work matters, but it's making the right choice as to where to work hard, what to work hard on, when to work hard. Did I work hard at sports? Yes. But had I made the choice to work hard at baseball or football instead of basketball, you might not be listening to my voice right now because I made the wrong choice. Did I work hard? Yes. So hard work wasn't the key. The key was choosing where to work hard. It's a really important thing. And the reason why it's so important is because, again, a lot of people want someone to just give them this prescription. All right, just do this, this, and this, and everything's going to work out. That's not the way that life works. Things change, people change, circumstances change. What worked 2 days ago may not work today. You're going to have to make a different decision. You're going to have to choose differently because the situation is not the same as it was before. But you got to be wise enough to notice that and make your adjustments. A lot of people aren't willing to make adjustments. They just want somebody to tell them exactly what to do. Unfortunately, well, there are places in life where people tell you what to do, but I doubt you'll be very happy. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is do not give attention where you are not getting it. So the first point was really about you understanding that even though you may not be getting the attention right now in a certain space, doesn't mean you give up on it, but you might just need to go about it a different way. Point number 2 is this. Time is your most valuable resources. And this is something I just touched on in point number 1. I could have gave a lot of time, more time to playing baseball and less time to basketball. And again, who knows how things would have worked out had I made that bad decision. So you got to be stingy with your time, the most valuable resource that you have. Every use of your time is an investment, ladies and gentlemen. Everything you do with your time is an investment. So you got to ask yourself this question, because If you understand how investing works as a general, if you have a general understanding of investing, right? It means you put something in now and you're going to get some kind of result later, positive or negative, something. So every use of your time being an investment, the question you ask yourself today is, are your investments making you better or are they making you worse? And being that the most valuable investment you can make is time, let's just talk about time. Because there are a million investments you make every day, but let's just talk about time. All right, because you only got 24 hours of that. Everybody got the same amount. Are your investments of time making you better or are they making you worse? What'd you do with your time yesterday? How'd you spend your 24 hours? You remember. Did it make you better or did it make you worse? Did you make some investments? Did you have conversations with people who are going to make you better in the long run or people who are going to make you worse in the long run? And let me take out one of the possible answers people may give. There is no neutral. Or there is no staying the same. So every investment you make, you're getting better or you're getting worse. You're building or destroying. And today's topic, once again, being going where you are getting attention and stop giving attention to places that are in people and things that are not giving attention back to you. You got to be very stingy with your time. You're giving time somewhere that investment is not giving you anything back. You might be giving your time to the wrong thing, the wrong person, the wrong place. Is your time investment paying you back or is it costing you money? Again, you might need a long-term look at this. Look at what you were doing 5 years ago and see where you are now. Did those decisions you made 5 years ago help you or did they hurt you? And if you don't know, then they probably hurt you. Giving your time, because attention requires time, right? Giving your time to someone or something that is not returning it, is this a good investment for you? That's just a simple question that you need to answer. All right, there's no I don't know is unacceptable. When you're giving your time to something that is not returning it back to you, are you making a good investment or are you making a bad investment? If your best friend was doing what you're doing, what would you tell them? If your best friend was making the same investments of time right now that you are making, what would you say to that individual? What would you tell them about themselves? What do they need to know that they seem to be conveniently ignoring right now? Rhetorical question, at least coming from me, but it's not a rhetorical question when you say it to yourself. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is do not give attention where you are not receiving attention. This is all about discernment. The skill of discernment is all about, means solving the unsolved mysteries. It means there are going to be times in your life, many times in life, where you're going to be faced with a dilemma, where you're going to have multiple options and you're going to need to make a decision. Discernment is your ability to see through the options, read between the lines of those options, and make a smart, educated decision based on your best judgment. That's what discernment means. Let me say that one more time. Because often in life, I have people who will come to me and they'll have a certain dilemma or a certain challenge or a certain problem, and they'll tell me what their options are, or at least the options that they see, and they will want someone, maybe me, maybe somebody else, to basically make the decision for them. The thing about discernment is, discernment is your ability to use your best judgment, adjust your judgment as you get more information, more experiences, and more knowledge, and make the best decision that you can possibly make given the information that you have. When someone comes to me with that type of request, all I will do is offer them information. I always make it very clear to them, I will not be making your decision for you. You'll be making your decision because I don't have to live with the decision. So it would be unfair for me to make a decision that I don't have to live with. So since you got to live with it, you will make the final decision. So whatever happens, you're responsible for it. I can give you some information, but you still got to decide what to do. Discernment is your ability to sharpen your skill of judgment for these moments of decision. And there will be many of them in life. I have a full class on discernment that is coming very soon. Just stay tuned to this masterclass. There'll be a full class on discernment on the way, all about sharpening your skill of judgment. And understand that your judgment, sometimes you're going to be wrong. Sometimes you're going to make the wrong decision. Sometimes you didn't have enough information. Sometimes you had all the information, but even with all the information, sometimes you still don't make the right choice because you have no idea what's going to be going on tomorrow. You have no idea how somebody else is going to respond to something. You don't always know. You can have all the information and still be wrong. Information doesn't make you great, all right? Because if it did, then everybody would be great because all the information is already out there, people. How do you know how long to keep trying something versus when to walk away from something? It's a good question, right? It's also a trick question because you don't always know. Sometimes you just got to make a judgment call. All right, I've given all these years to playing baseball. Let me try basketball instead. Or I tried out 3 years in a row for the basketball team, didn't make it. Let me try it one more time. Why? A lot of people decide not to. A lot of people would have said, give it up, forget it. You ain't going anywhere. And for them, they were right. But for me, they'd be wrong. But how do I know? I didn't know until years later, hey, that was a good idea to keep playing basketball. But it could have been a bad idea. I could have ended up not making it again, and it would have been a whole year that I kept trying and working on my game for nothing. Who knows? Sometimes in life, you're going to make a bad judgment call. And sometimes you're going to make good judgment calls, comma. Often, you won't know until later on down the line whether your judgment was good or bad. Good thing, though, is no matter what turns out from the judgment calls that you make, that you can learn from every decision that you make. When you find out whether it was a good or bad call, now you can adjust and don't make the same mistake again. Now, the fools keep making the same mistakes over and over again because they don't assess their judgments later on down the line. The choices that you make in life with your skill of discernment, they play a huge role in the overall results of your life. They basically are the overall results of your life. I wrote down here, they play a huge role. They don't play a huge role. They are your life. Your life is a result of the judgments that you made, period. Now, actually, some of it was circumstances that were handed to you that you couldn't control. But over time, as more time goes by, the longer you've been alive, the more your life is a complete 100% reflection of the results, reflection of the judgments that you yourself have made. The longer you're alive, the less you can blame your parents, the less you can blame the family you were born into, the less you can blame your neighborhood, the less you can blame any type of circumstance that is not under your control. The longer you are alive, the more you are the closer you get to being 100% responsible for the life that you're living. That's a good one right there. Let me say that succinctly again. The longer you are alive, the closer you get to being 100% responsible for the life that you are living. You can be helped with your judgment on a case-by-case basis when you have, for example, a coach working with you, or you are in a part of a mastermind group. You can present your problems, your challenges to the group and let the group give you some information. Let somebody tell you what they did when they were facing a similar dilemma. Or on your own, I would give you one directive. Let's say you're on your own, and eventually in life you will always be on your own. Even if you hire a coach, even if you have a mentor, even if you have a parent or a significant other who's helping you out, even if you're in a mastermind group and everybody in the group is telling you exactly which choice to make, in life, in the end of everything, once you get all the information, you hear everybody's feedback, you will always end up on your own. You will have to make your own decision at some point in life all the time. So my one directive to you is you must make a decision. Don't waste time, your most valuable resource, hemming and hawing and thinking, well, maybe this, maybe that, I don't know. Just make a decision. Because if it's the right decision, then hey, you saved a whole lot of time in deliberation and made the right decision. If it's the wrong decision, you'll notice it at some point. You'll be able to change it. Do not waste time in deliberation once you have all the necessary information. That rhymes. I didn't mean that to rhyme, but it sounds good, so I'm going to say it again. Do not waste time in deliberation once you have all the necessary information. Now let's recap today's topic, which is don't give attention where you are not getting it. And I told you the story of when and how I started my business, or start taking actions that became my business simply because basketball wasn't producing the type of results that I needed it to produce at that time. I had a small but enthusiastic audience online that was giving me energy. I wasn't giving enough energy to it. Once I started giving energy to it, I started getting exponentially growing results, and the rest became history. And when I went back to basketball, I had a different posture, a different energy, and because I didn't need it as much as I had needed it before, I was actually able to get better results from it. That's the paradox of life. Point number one, go to where you're adored, not where you're ignored. It's a simple idea, but hard for many to implement. Usually the person who needs to hear this is the person who's been trying too hard to get in somewhere where they're being ignored. The thing about angling for acceptance is when you need other people's approval, they respect you a little bit less and maybe a lot less. When you go to where you're adored, things happen easier. There's less resistance, there's less struggle, there's less grind. You still have to work, but results come a lot easier. Point number two, time is the most valuable resource you have, so you got to be stingy with yours. Every use of your time is an investment. So are your investments making you better or making you worse? Are they paying you back or are they costing you money? Are they giving you you're giving your time, because attention requires time. When you're giving it to someone or something that is not returning it, is this a good investment? Should you keep trying? This is a skill of discernment. Moving on to point number 3. Discernment is the question is, how long do you give? How long do you give how much attention before you realize that this investment should be discontinued? I got a full class on discernment coming soon. This is simply a question of judgment. That's what discernment is. How do you know how long to keep trying versus when to walk away? This is a judgment call that you have to learn to make, and you will make mistakes. This is trial and error that you will have to go through in life, because the choices that you make will play a huge role in the overall results of your life. They basically become your life. You can be helped with this on a case-by-case basis when you have a coach, for example, but on your own, I will give you one directive. Just make a decision and do not waste time in deliberation once you have all the necessary information. So should you continue trying somewhere where you're not getting the ROI because you just need to work harder, you just need to put more time in? Maybe. Should you walk away because you're in the wrong place and it's not going to return the investment on you no matter how long you work? Maybe. Your skill of discernment will help you decide. And even if you make the wrong decision, at least now you have better judgment and you won't make that mistake again. Hopefully you won't, because if you do, then you're a fool. All right, now I already laid these out for you here in these master classes. So make sure you are taking advantage of all the master classes you have access to here as a member of the game group. If you're not a member of the game group, go to Work On Your Game University. That's workonyourgameu.com, and let's work on your game. Dre all day.